He said, you're going to talk about reconciliation. And that was my instruction. I took his command to heart. I knew that reconciliation, I knew innately that reconciliation gives us a possibility to find new ways to go forward together. I want to say to you that Aboriginal people cannot do it on their own. That we need each other. That all of us stand together and say, we have had enough of the injustice and the marginalization. And that we're going to move forward in love because we care for each other. So I want to quote Grand Chief Edward John. He couldn't be here today. He's doing some work at the United Nations. He said, and he wrote to me, he said, it's a good day to be Indigenous people. It's a good day to be Canadian, all of you. A good day to be the face of reconciliation.
Yeah, I hear that.
In this great city of ours, you are now the face of reconciliation. Edward John wanted me to tell you that this past week at the United Nations General Assembly, Prime Minister Trudeau delivered a remarkable presentation which focused on Canada's past relationships with Indigenous people and explained Canada's vision for reconciliation with Indigenous people. The Prime Minister spoke to the legacy of colonialism. He said, residential schools that separated children as young as 5 years old from their families, punished them for speaking their languages, and sought to extinguish their cultures entirely. In 2015, Ed John said, the conclusion of Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission was a finding that Canada's laws, policies, and practices involving Indigenous people amounted to cultural genocide.
Yeah.
I remember that moment. I was there when the Chief Commissioner was presenting his report, and there were 4,000 or 5,000 survivors all sitting in that room. And we had waited, some of us, for a lifetime, for somebody to validate the things we had always known, that we faced maltreatment and abuse. But at that day when he said what he said, the whole room erupted in euphoria. That's not the important message anymore. You know what was more important? That following the presentation of that report, there was a poll that came, the first poll out, that said, in spite of the characterization of cultural genocide, 7 out of 10 Canadians wanted to reconcile.
Oh.
And I think they've always been here in Vancouver. You must be the 7 out of 10. And Ed John wanted me to tell you that he said this, the good news is that Canadians get it, you get it. They're fed up with excuses, and that this impatience gives us a rare, precious opportunity to act. And that's what we will do.
Yeah.
As for a framework for reconciliation, he offered the following on the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. At a time, he said, when we are seeking reconciliation as our guide, we will use the basic norms adopted in this hall, meaning the halls of the United Nations. Years ago this month, the Declaration provides the necessary principles, norms, and standards for reconciliation to flourish in moving forward. Those were strong words, strong commitments from the Prime Minister. And we heard today from the representatives of the province. They feel the same way. So I have great hope in my heart today. Once in a while, I wanted to cry. I was so happy. And I know that the future that we're moving into is going to be a lot better than the past that we have come through. And it's going to be because of people like yourselves with open hearts and open minds that are willing to change things, to develop new relationships between us all, to have deep dialogue that transforms our relationships, and we truly bring about the kinds of changes that we need. So I thank you all for coming out today. You are beautiful, you're wonderful, you make a difference, and we are going to change Vancouver and this country eventually. Dila Kasdavla.